I am D-list celebrity. On this day my agent was out of town. I snuck out for a late-night snack and was just about to pay when my cell phone died and turned off. I looked around and saw the paparazzi guy who had been following me. I waved at him and said, "Brother, come here and pay." The paparazzi guy cursed and came over. "At first I thought you were pretty and thought you would be hot. So I followed you. But I didn't make any money and now I have to pay for it." Later, when I got acquainted, the paparazzi guy sneaked up on me and said, "Be careful with the male lead this time." I was excited. Is he going to be a career downfall? Paparazzi guy: "No. He has a crush on you." "No. He's got a crush on you." As a D-list celebrity in the entertainment industry, I have a clear positioning of myself. I don't have a destiny to make it big. So I just take up small jobs from time to make ends meet. My mom laughed her ass off when she heard about the peanuts I earned. In the past few days, I've been working on a female N-number scene. And I've been eating grass for a month in order to look good on camera. So tonight my scene is finally wrapping up filming. In the middle of the night when I was hungry, I went downstairs and walked a few steps into the barbecue stand. Paste is the best disguise. I don't even need to wear a mask when I go out. I was so hungry that I forgot to check my cell phone's battery level. And when I tried to pay, my phone snapped to black. The boss and I looked at each other. After 2 seconds of silence, I smiled and asked the boss to wait. Turning my head to look around, a circle finally saw a familiar figure in an inconspicuous corner, still holding up the camera. I showed my hand at the other side. "Brother, come over here and help me pay." A moment later, a guy in a gray suit came out of the shadowed corner, cursing, and scanned the code to pay. "Jade Rivers, I really owe you in my past life. When I first saw your talent show, I thought you could be hot and follow the shooting. But in the end, after so many years, I didn't make any money, but also put in $78. He turned abruptly and looked at me with wide eyes. "You're a female artiste who ordered $78 of barbecue in the middle of the night? Alone? So what?" I looked at him strangely. "Brother, you don't think I can't finish it, do you?" Zach Young, my loyal paparazzi guy, stared at me for a few seconds with a blank stare before finally sputtering, "I'd rather you secret rendezvous. At least I can pop some scandalous scoop." The words are true. But you're carrying the packed barbecue. I said to Zach Young, "Brother, I'm sorry for your hard work tonight, but I'll treat you to a big meal some other time." The paparazzi guy gave the same serious look as my agent. "Jade Rivers, take care of yourself. Day in and day out. I'm making my peers laugh by filming you. Brother, really sorry you owe." After eating this barbecue, I was satisfied to lie down on the bed. The next day to take the flight back. When I landed in the VIP lounge, I didn't know which celebrity landed at the same time. And the fans who picked me up were waiting there. I was pushing my suitcase and struggling to get through the crowd, when a fan suddenly shoved a fan in my arms. When I looked down, it was Julian Chase. Julian Chase, a top streamer who has been teased by fans in the past 2 years for using his face to bully others. A serious actor, Julian Chase was cast as a male N-number in a TV drama at the age of 18. A supporting role that brought him into the audience's view. Since then, his career development has been even smoother. And he is destined to be a big hit. I could finally hear the sound of the crowd chanting not far away. "Julian Chase. Mommy loves you. Honey. I love you." I rolled my eyes at the fan. Instead, I didn't throw it. It was hard to get back to my 200-square-foot nest. And I was lying on the couch, paralyzed. When my cell phone suddenly rang, I answered it without even looking and put it in my ear. "Hello? Jade Rivers." I was at the airport and I saw a guy in a big pink cat head t-shirt picking me up with my fan. Came the beaten voice. "Am I blind or are you too embarrassed to tell me that you've secretly become a fan of mine?" I rolled my eyes again even though I knew the dog couldn't see. "Julian Chase. It's bad enough that I landed on the ground around the same time as you. But now I have to listen to this kind of disgusting talk. Do I have too comfortable a life? The other end did explode. What do you mean? You don't like me anymore? Julian Chase, my mom's best friend's son, was quite annoying when he was a little chubby kid. But somehow he became more and more chubby and handsome. Which is even more outrageous than going for plastic surgery. I added slowly and methodically. So what? If you annoy me, I'll go online and expose your 26 years of Black history, so that you can see what your biggest Black fans are fighting for. A moment later, the other end changed the topic. I've been invited to a variety show. And am going to bring a friend or family member along. Are you coming? Variety show? I froze for a moment. You find your company those seniors and juniors not on the line? No way. No way. There's no one who has been working for so many years without any friends. Right? Julian Chase was probably hurt by my attack. And after a few seconds of silence, he said, "You don't have to come if you don't want to." I didn't take it seriously. But a few days later, my manager looked at me with a complicated expression. "Jade Rivers, why did you get an offer for that variety show? Hello? Now? Huh?" The agent continued in a tone of disbelief. "What connections do you know? You finally realized you have to struggle?" I bowed to the forces of evil. And my manager said that if I didn't go to a variety show where I could show my face, she would send me to a talent show. I'm 26 years old and I'm afraid that if I'm allowed to jump around on stage at the age of 26, I'm going to get a crunch in my knee joints and be accepted into orthopedics next. I don't know where paparazzi guy got his information from. The show didn't announce the full list of celebrities. It only said that a few celebrity guests will join their friends and family on the show. So half of the guests are still under wraps. And he actually knew that I'm going to be on the show. The paparazzi guy has been filming me for a couple years and we even added contact info and he messaged me. I don't know why. But seeing you finally have a decent announcement gave me a faint sense of relief. As if the daughter who's been mooching off her parents has finally found a decent job. I sent him a string of ellipses back. The paparazzi guy, out of nowhere, sent me a list of notes on all the celebrities who have appeared on the show, detailing what roles they've played, what they've done in the ring and what they've said. One of the things about Julian Chase, in addition to a bunch of information that I could find on the internet, was that he has had 0 scandals since his debut and could be gay. Ha 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 ha. I really cannot hold back. Very curious to ask. Brother, you these news from which channels ah? The program team has contacts? I'm not sure if it's true, but I'm sure it is. Paparazzi guy replied. Social matters less inquisitive. Before I left for the show, Julian Chase tweeted me. Don't say I'm not looking out for you. I'm going to make you a big deal this time. I replied with a question mark. But he didn't reply to the message. I don't know what he's busy with. I don't know what he's up to. Julian Chase's announcements are all over the place. So it's only natural that he's busy. There is a little bit of jealousy. But when I think about my lazy and unambitious attitude towards life, I don't think it's a big deal anymore. When I arrived at the show's location with my suitcase, I couldn't help but wow. What a superb vacationer's heavenly choice of location this is. The prairie, blue skies and white clouds as far as the eye can see. The staff of the program ran over to me apologetically and said, I'm sorry Mr. Jiang. The director's side has temporarily decided to broadcast the program as a live broadcast. Mr. Jiang? Do the other guests agree? I was shocked. Such a hasty change? Or was this the program's original intention? Before I joined the industry, I saw everyone as genuine. But after I joined, I realized that they are all public persona. Half of the stars in the entertainment industry are away from the company to create a public persona have to be finished. This kind of live directly in front of the camera. And no serious script. The program group is not afraid that this period ended without the next period. The staff member maintained a good work ethic and smiled. Of course. It doesn't really matter to me. Those big hitters are fine with it. What can I say? But I came a bit early. So I simply waited after putting on my makeup. The 4 celebrity guests invited for this episode are not small. Apart from Julian Chase, there is also Vivian Hsu, a movie queen who has been in the industry for more than 20 years. Fiona Fu, a singer, and Ethan Su, who is a popular celebrity this year. Viewers had to wait until the live broadcast started to meet them and the invited guests. But I didn't have to. It didn't take long for everyone to arrive. Julian Chase arrived late. He got out of a black nanny van, wearing a clean and fresh outfit. At first glance I thought he was a male university, wearing sunglasses, a brand he endorses, for some unknown reason. Just so watery from the car began to walk the show, but also on the side of the staff around, as well as just set up soon after the camera to say hello. A group of staff, including the director, looked at him dumbfounded. A moment later, the assistant director tentatively spoke. Mr. G. We haven't started the live broadcast yet. What are you? It hasn't started? Julian Chase was obviously stunned, and his tone of voice rose a bit. Then quickly scanned the camera set up around him, and warily said, "This part isn't being filmed, is it? If it is, cut it out and don't let it appear in any later edited variety show." He also muttered in a low voice, "Thanks to my specially designed appearance." The director stifled a laugh. "Don't worry, Mr. G. The machine isn't even turned on." "Really?" Julian Chase tried to test the director's conscience with a sincere gaze. The director nodded affirmatively. True da. Julian Chase was suspected to have been mentally attacked by a man in his 40s who was trying to be cute with a face that looked like Lee Kuei's. And he fell silent. At this point he didn't realize that there are no honest people in this world. I silently lowered my head and raised my hands to cover my face. A little embarrassing. Julian Chase walked up to me and said, "Jiang Shaodai, you're wearing the same clothes as me today. On purpose?" I silently reached out and pointed to the side of the guests who had already arrived at the show. "As far as I can see, who isn't wearing the same style as you, Mr. G?" The show team has received sponsorship from a clothing brand, and all the guests are wearing the same sportswear in different colors, which looks like a rainbow of colors at first glance. Julian Chase did his own makeup. No need for live makeup. The program team is still debugging the live equipment. He followed to tinker with the machine, but also let him take a camera from the photographer that does not use the camera. I do not know what is shooting. I first stared at movie queen Vivian Hsu and singer Fiona Fu as they did their makeup. The former is my childhood goddess, and the latter is also a great beauty who matches her looks with her strength in the entertainment industry. Probably because my line of sight was too direct. Vivian Hsu glanced at me in the mirror and laughed softly. "Xiao Jiang, what are you looking at?" The goddess smiled at me. I was confused for a moment. The corners of my mouth grinned first. Looking at a beautiful woman. Ms. Hsu. Who would believe that this beautiful woman already has a 17-year-old son? Standing next to his mom. It's not surprising that she's a brother and sister. Jason Zhao, who was probably tired of watching his mom for so many years, followed her on the show for the first time, having never appeared in the public eye before. He looked at all the starry-eyed people, including me, who were looking at his mom in disbelief. "Jade River sis. You guys really aren't doing this because my mom is a senior?" I stared at him incredulously. No. This bear of a kid? How dare he deny the fucking pomp and circumstance? Before I could answer, I saw the goddess smile again. A smile that was like a throwback to when she did some hit movie a decade or so ago. Finish hot. So beautiful. Fiona Fu smiled and said, "Little Lin brother. What's your misunderstanding about your mom's charm?" Jason Zhao actually resembles his mom a little bit. And I can imagine how much of a sensation he's going to be when the broadcast starts. But it's not just Vivian Hsu's mother and son who will be a sensation. Fiona Fu brought along fellow singer Rachel Chen for the variety show. And Ethan Su brought along his twin brother. A group of staff stared at the two identical faces to guess who is the real Ethan Su. Identical faces and hairstyles. Even the smiling demeanor was similar. Only the clothes on their bodies were different colors. When they don't talk. I guess it's hard to distinguish the real one when the real fans come. I can't even imagine how the fans feel when they realize that there's another Masamune in this world who looks the same. So handsome. There are two of them. I was so mesmerized by what I was looking at that a sentence suddenly sounded quietly in my ears. What are you looking at so seriously? I turned my head to see that Julian Chase was also looking at the twins in front of me. Just with a slightly meaningful look. They're exactly the same. Even the moles on the inside of their wrists are in the same place. I was a bit surprised. What's so surprising about twins? Julian Chase gave a beat and turned his head to look at me. How do you know that the moles on the inside of their wrists are the same? He. I smiled shyly. I just touched it when I went over to say hello. Just now or Ethan Sue brothers to show us a few of their brothers on the magical similarities. Even the length of the finger are exactly the same. I went along with the comparison. Not counting touching it. Julian Chase. He sneers. You like that? Woolly little handsome guy. Broad shoulders. Narrow waist and nice buttocks. Who wouldn't like it? Not to mention two identical ones. I gave him a strange look. Julian Chase walked away. Probably because of some man's desire to win. What's the point of competing with a little boy? The crew of the show came over and said some notes. And the broadcast was ready to start. The broadcast was actually on at this point. And the number of people pouring in was increasing horribly almost by the second. With pop-ups swiping blindingly against a static background of only banners printing hello. Present moment. I took a look at it before I started feeling my way through it. And got a much better idea of the popularity of the 4 celebrity guests. Of course. Julian Chase's fans couldn't lose. Julian Chase and the other 3 celebrity guests came out first in front of a huge stand-up sign. And I even heard a slightly worried the booth won't get stuck. Will it? From the staff when the live stream actually started. Behind the sign now stood 4 people. Each holding a mask. Outside. Fiona Fu is introducing herself. And Rachel Cheen, whom she invited to join her, is standing next to me. Speaking of which, I've never heard of the two of them having any friendships. So I can't help but gossip. Sister Lara. When did you and Sister Yun meet? Rachel Cheen laughed lightly. We are actually high school classmates. We have known each other for more than 10 years. Rachel Cheen laughed lightly. We were actually high school classmates. And we have known each other for more than 10 years. This hiding quite deep awe. When Julian Chase introduced himself earlier, the live broadcast room went crazy. In fact, because of the popularity of all 4 of them, no matter who spoke, the fans would go crazy. The pop-ups were all shouting Julian Chase's name or calling out for her husband. At about the same time, the crew reminded us to put on our masks. The director took a loudspeaker and said please join your friends and family invited by the guests, and the 4 of us walked out. I even pondered for a moment if I needed to make a dent and post-pause when I stopped. Thinking about it seemed sick. Like I was infected by Julian Chase. I gave up. It was a bit of an odd way to go out. Though. Julian Chase wasn't expecting this either. And he hesitantly voiced the audience's thoughts. Director. May I ask if this is where we're going to pick our heartthrob? The pop-ups were active. Happy to die. Julian Chase blindly say what big truth. The program group this said in the end from which dating program to learn. Ha 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 ha. The question is. Which guest is Julian Chase's favorite? This mask is so ugly and chic. Who chose it? The director also seemed to be stuck for a moment. Then forced an explanation. I did it to increase the suspense and attract the audience's interest. Never mind the chicness. Just tell me if it works or not. What a powerful answer. Julian Chase grudgingly accepts this as he nods. The director picked up his superb classic red horn again. Which teacher will choose first? Julian Chase made a pleased gesture. Mr. Sue first? Vivian Sue is the senior. It's normal to let her go first at a time like this. She didn't push back, but smiled with a gentle face and walked forward. At this moment the pop-ups all turned into, "Goddess is so beautiful," and, "Goddess choose me." Vivian Su took a few steps forward, circled around all four of us, and finally walked up to her son and extended her hand. Jason Zhao, wearing a mask, took his mother's hand, and mother and son walked back. The teenager himself took off his mask and introduced himself to the camera. "Hello everyone. I'm Jason Zhao." Vivian Su smiles as she introduces her son. Fiona Fu was the next to claim her partner, and she walked straight over to Rachel Chin and held her hand. Soon after she took off her mask, a large number of Rachel Chin's fans followed her into the live broadcast room. They hadn't even gotten the slightest hint that their main character was participating in the variety show shoot. The remaining Julian Chase and Ethan Su humbled themselves for a while. And in the end, it was Ethan Su who was pushed by his seniors to go forward first. Pop up. Wait. One of these two brought a female partner? Tonic. I happen to be their stan both. Career downfall. No. What's wrong with a female partner? Maybe a sister or something? I'm guessing the female partner is Ethan Su. How many people of the opposite sex has Julian Chase been with? On the live feed, Ethan Su is smiling, probably laughing at the thought of what he's about to do. Instead of leading someone on, he stood directly between me and his brother Ryan Su, smiled down, and reached straight up to remove his brother's mask. When another identical one appeared in front of the camera, the pop-up visibly stalled. Immediately afterward, it was as if it had gone crazy. To Ethan Su. Twin children? Ilua Ethan Su, you did not say you have a twin brother. Ah. District 2. The front. Big gall. So my same human wife it. Is this an older or younger brother? So handsome. I'd like to introduce you all. This is my twin brother Ryan Su. Ethan Su joked. Except for the color of our clothes. Can you tell us apart? The brothers smiled at the camera together. Almost identically. After the twins, I was the only one left. Julian Chase took a few slow steps over to me and smiled a little bitchy smile. Oops, you're the only one left. I didn't have a choice. Julian Chase. Come on. Die. Take off your mask and introduce yourself. With a big smile. He went on with a big smile. It's not the first time I've participated in a variety show shoot. But in the previous talent show, there were hundreds of girls competing for the camera. And now there are only 8. When the mask came off and the camera was on me, it was a little uncomfortable. Hi. I'm Jade Rivers. No. Who's this girl? She's pretty. But she's not very recognizable. Julian Chase. Why are you smiling like that? Don't tell me this is your sister-in-law. You're only 26. Don't think about your personal life until 2 more years. Why don't you introduce your relationship? The director's side was cueing the flow with a small speaker. I glanced at Julian Chase and saw that he had no intention of opening his mouth. So I could only look at the camera and say, "Hello everyone. I am Julian Chase's neighbor." Yes. Julian Chase and I. Veritable childhood friends. It's just kinda awkward when the two families are so close together. And he's mixing it up so well. And I'm mixing it up, checking it out. And being peers. Is our relationship so polite? Julian Chase was speechless for a split second. Then said to the camera, "This is my hair, little director. So what kind of work does Mr. Jade Rivers do?" It wasn't the director's intention to make things difficult for me, as the previous pairs had also introduced their basic personal information, such as Jason Zhao, who had just finished his high school career, Rachel Chin, who was a singer, and Ryan Su, who was still studying abroad for his doctorate degree. I was silent for a moment before I spoke. "I'm an actor." The person next to me seemed to laugh softly. I don't know if anyone else heard it, but I did. Such a coincidence. I'm also an actor. I hope to have the chance to work with Mr. Jade Rivers in the future. Julian Chase said. There's a reason why Julian Chase doesn't usually participate in variety shows. He doesn't even have a public persona when he goes out. And he's got a real yin-yang streak going on. All 8 guests appeared. And the director began to promulgate the task. Hello. Now is a life variety show. The content of the past period is just cooking, eating, traveling and talking about the daily life. The content of each installment was actually similar when looked at in detail. But because of the different artists who appeared on the show, the effects presented were different. But this is the first time that the program has been broadcast live, which is a very bold attempt. The director held a loudspeaker and said, "Please come up to each group of guests and draw lots to assign jobs. And work together to finish your delicious lunch." Director: Did I hear you wrong? Julian Chase was the first to disagree. Didn't you say when you invited me that coming over was all about fun? Let me eat and drink well. Why do I have to cook for myself now? Fiona Fu then revealed a skeptical look. Director: You told me the same thing. Vivian Su, a senior, also followed suit and revealed the director's ruse. Isn't the scenery over here very nice and suitable for bringing children to play? Ethan Su: Why did you tell me to come here to exercise? Director: You're biased. Case solved. 3 tricked into coming. 1 coaxed. Netizens are laughing like crazy in the live broadcast. After the contract was signed and the live broadcast was underway, the director was emboldened. We provide the conditions for good food, drink and fun. What's wrong with you experiencing the joy of doing it yourselves? The ingredients over there, see, are carefully selected and purchased. And the food is delicious. Whining is whining. But the work still needs to be done. Julian Chase poked me. Jiang Shaodai. Go and draw a lot. The other 3 went to draw lots. The other 3 people who went to the lottery were also invited friends and relatives. The staff held a jar in their hands. And each person was given a random stick. I pulled it out and looked at it, silently covering the words on it. As it turns out, I've always had an average hand. I drew dishes. It was Rachel Cheen. I'm the pot boiler. This is Ryan Su. I'm cleaning up after dinner. This is Jason Zhao. What did Jade Rivers draw? What's left? I showed the stick in my hand. And it had just 2 words on it. Chef. Amidst all the noise around us, Julian Chase and I exchanged a look that only we probably knew what it meant. Julian Chase stretched his back and sighed. I'm a cook-ah. The others giggled in their hearts after this sigh. Jade Rivers. Can you cook? My face was calm. I guess I do. It should be right to speak humbly in front of the camera. But they seem to have misunderstood something. Vivian Su says. Director. Why don't I switch jobs with Key and his team? Her 17-year-old son chimes in. Yeah. My mom is a much better cook than my dad. His comment aroused the curiosity of those in the room. Lynn. Who cooks in your family? Auntie does. The boy's face flashed. But my dad likes to cook. Your dad is going to be sad after watching the program. Vivian Su laughed. The director looks impartial. You can't change tasks. But you can give verbal guidance from the sidelines. That's how the program works. Julian Chase and I don't look like kitchen people at all. A lunch started with a bang. The division of labor is different and sequential. So now the live broadcast is split into a few. Fiona Fu and Rachel Cheen went to clean the ingredients. And the brothers Ethan Su were figuring out how to set up the pots and fires. Julian Chase and Vivian Su and I couldn't even go to help because of the show's rules. But we just watched. Each side of the show in their own way. The twins, Ethan Su and Ryan Su, would get a lot more attention. Especially since they were getting along. The director comes over at this point and asks, would the 4 guests like to do a challenge to win your stay tonight? Julian Chase. Director. You can't tell me that we have to get all the yurt. Right? What are you talking about? A yurt is not a tent. You can just set it up? No. You sound like you've really thought about it. Don't you? What's the challenge? Jason Zhao asked. The director smiled sincerely. It's very simple. You draw and I guess. I was silent. And so was Julian Chase. The 2 dudes started to humble themselves. I said modestly. Julian Chase. You draw. I'll guess. He was unusually modest. No. 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 Mr. Jiang. You draw. You draw. Me. Mr. G. Your fans have never seen your exquisite painting skills. They will definitely want to see it. Julian Chase laughed a bit. Your fans have never seen you paint. Have they? I was fearless. I don't have any fans. Julian Chase was set up with a drawing board, staring at me with a grimace in his eyes. And then, at the director's behest, he looked at the teleprompter board and began to draw with a constipated look on his face. When the board was displayed, I was silent for 2 seconds. Is the big circle with 2 corners in front of it a demon? And what's that rectangle? Julian Chase spoke up excitedly. Isn't it obvious? The pop-ups all started laughing like crazy. No wonder my brother Sung Soo is suddenly so humble. What the hell is he drawing? I tried to say a few words, but they weren't right. And Julian Chase pointed over his shoulder at himself and then at me. That word perfectly describes my current situation, he said breathlessly. I wasn't able to read what Julian Chase was drawing, but I knew a little bit about who he was, and hesitantly said, "Chicken shit?" He pointed at me and nodded excitedly. Pretty much. In a flash of light, I spoke up again. A cow to a cow? Yes. What's that thing got to do with cows? Julian Chase, with a straight face, said, "Why don't you just guess it?" Next question. There was some weird understanding between us. And with Julian Chase's abstract drawings, I got a couple of questions right in an abstract way. The director asked incredulously, "Did we leak the questions?" Next was Vivian Su drawing and her son guessing. Julian Chase and I silently wiped our sweat as we watched the movie queen's drawing skills. It was a tough comparison. After the game over here, it's almost time to start the pot of oil. Ethan Su's twins over there have been tossed from Korean dudes to country dudes, choking on smoke. Julian Chase and I looked around the ingredients and talked to them about what to eat. Ethan Su. Bro. Sis. Well, just go with the simplest we can eat. The kid was not picky. After making sure that there were no ingredients that they should avoid, Julian Chase and I put on our aprons in style. As we agreed, there is only one pot. He'll cook while he cooks, and he'll cook while I cook. Start the pot to boil the oil. The guests who had no work to do next to us followed the staff and watched the two of us. And even the data of the live broadcast seemed to be rising, as if the next second had already foreseen the scene of hand-wringing. Unexpectedly, however, as soon as Julian Chase picked up the pot and spoon, the aura on his body changed abruptly. The ingredients were dropped into the pot, and before the person next to me could even open his mouth to give instructions, Julian Chase had already skillfully started to stir-fry and turn the pot upside down. And I was like a relentless little brother ready to pass the ingredients according to Julian Chase's orders. There was a wow, then silence at some point. When Julian Chase's first dish came out, I moved on to the next. They froze for a moment as they watched the chef change. Jade Rivers. Why don't you just let Julian Chase be the chef? Hell, you just give him a hand. I glanced in their direction while responding with, "It's fine. I can order too." The next second, the pot of oil. The ingredients are put down. The fire burns extraordinarily strong. I stir-fry, while upside down, the hot pot of fire more and more set off my calm like a chef who has been working in the kitchen for 20 years. It's quiet again next to me. Just Julian Chase giving me a hand. I didn't realize the words tiger and wolf flashed across the pop-up screen at this moment. The man and woman I most wanted to marry appeared. Monogamy. It's okay, right? A pot out of 6 or 7 dishes. Served on the table set up by the program team. Rice served. Picked up the advertisement small drink one person a bottle put on the table. Open to eat. They were still in shock. The director really felt cheated. Didn't you guys say you don't know how to cook? I'm confused. Didn't I say I could order? Julian Chase. When did I say I wouldn't? Fiona Fu looked at us with an admiring look. How come you two are such good cooks? I said. Well, it's a long story. When I was a kid, My hobbies were a bit niche. While others were playing with dolls and toy cars and burning clay rice, I enjoyed watching my own chef turn pots upside down. My dad made me a customized set of real cookware for kids. And he and my mom had the decency to taste their daughter's cooking when she was a few years old. It wasn't cooked. And both husband and wife had a bad stomach. But that didn't stop mom and dad from coddling me. Because Julian Chase and I were neighbors and classmates at the time, we didn't see each other. And when I played something, he was curious and came over to say he wanted to play. And then we both became characters who couldn't possibly starve themselves outside. Regarding the matter of cooking, when I was in junior high school, I was able to give the family a whole 8 dishes and a soup. Of course, then the hobby slowly wore off as I grew up. But the skills were learned. And that's something that lasts a lifetime. Twin brothers at the table, who basically know nothing about cooking, cast admiring glances at Julian Chase and I. Especially Ryan Sue, who studied abroad, asked sincerely, "Can you learn to cook quickly?" Desire was written all over his face. I wonder what kids go through out there. By the end of the meal, I was still feeling a bit sleepy after watching the blue sky and white clouds for a while. Although I am at best a supporting actor in front of the camera, at least it's a job. So I can't sleep anywhere. Life is all about variety. And of course there is leisure time. I was sitting under the umbrella, looking up into the distance, when I suddenly felt something wasn't quite right. "Julian Chase, can you see if there's something on that hillside over there?" Julian Chase sniffed and looked over. "Yes. It looks like something is moving. Kind of like a person. I'll ask them if they have binoculars." The two of us were looking out and holding binoculars. And not surprisingly, we attracted the attention of the others. Sequence. "What are you guys looking at?" Jason Zhao came over. Probably because he wanted to see what was going on. I handed him the binoculars and said, "I think there's a paparazzi on that hill." "What? That's just weird." Everyone else followed. Binoculars passed from one to the other. And again there was a lot of wow. "Which one of you fandom photographers is that good?" A few of them were modest with each other. But none of them dared to pat themselves on the back and say they were their own fandom photographer. I didn't dare to say anything. But that little blue hat on the hill over there looked a bit familiar. But I thought about it. The shooting location has not even been publicized online before. The guests on the show, whether they are artists or not, are probably hotter than me in terms of popularity. Their big fandom photographer did not run over. There is no reason for my paparazzi guy to run over. After taking some time off in the afternoon, with the live feed turned off but the camera still shooting random bits of footage, during that free time I reached for my phone and saw that Zach Young had messaged me. "Can you play nice for the camera? Otherwise, if you're as Buddhist as you are, how many shots will you have left when the main movie airs?" Sometimes I think paparazzi guy is my most loyal career fan. But he won't admit it. He says he's still filming me to make money. I considered the wording and asked politely, "Brother, where are you today?" "Over there," replied. "Watching you lie down on the hillside with the equipment I bought at a great price." "No. That little blue hat is really him? He's got that kind of dedication. What's he doing that's not successful?" The live broadcast opened again in the evening. This time the netizens will be pickpocketed almost all. During the daytime broadcast, several phrases were on the hot search at the same time. Hashtag Vivian Z's son's first appearance. Hashtag Ethan Sue twins. Hashtag Fiona Fu. Rachel Cheen's suspected coming out of the closet. Hashtag Julian Chase's hair. Hashtag looking over these hotspots. Julian Chase and I looked at each other and clicked into the third one at once. Gossip. Human nature. Netizens also do not know where the magical power. But just a few hours to dig out Fiona Fu and Rachel Cheen to work basically no intersection of people. Their IP in more than one time overlap. And the two people have been picking out a lot of the same style. Some because it is a limited edition is suspected to be the same clothes two people have worn. Sigh. Mel and after eating look at the eyes of colleagues are a bit wrong. But to be honest, what netizens can see I don't see at all. This moment quietly stared at people a few times. Isn't this normal good friends getting along? I was a bit puzzled. What's wrong with good friends wearing each other's clothes and jewelry? Julian Chase listened to my confusion, not knowing what came to his mind, and was silent for a few seconds. Forget it. You've always been wooden anyway. Why are you still making personal attacks? Julian Chase ignored me. The live chat room opened again. And it was as if the netizens were watching with magnifying glasses. Fiona Fu and Rachel Chin are real or not? This answer is very important to me. Romance-obsessed you guys are really enough. Aren't they just good friends? How to change clothes who is Ethan Su I can't recognize him after all these years. Who cares who you are? Send one to my bed. I'll take a brother or a sister. I'll take a transfer. I searched for Jade Rivers and realized that she was the little bean I chased a few years ago. But she dropped out of the talent show. So I voted for her. Julian Chase and his young friend as peers. Every year when the New Year's Eve walks around, a lot of comparisons to be made. I'm going to be shattered on behalf of the Jade Rivers. Lin is going to debut? Please. Good looking, more up to the internal entertainment. The director pulled out his superb little red horn again. Let's have a little light-hearted session tonight. No need for us to cook. Right? Ethan Su hemmed and hawed. I've seen Master busy for a long time. Ethan Su. You've got the nerve to say that. I just saw you stealing food. The director complained. What do you mean I was stealing food? It was my brother who ate it. Ethan Su complained even louder. Don't bully your brother. The director said. Ethan Su. His twin brother smiled coyly next to him. This part was later cut to the main movie and revealed that the truth was that both brothers were stealing food. Ryan Su himself. Coy but loves to eat. The barbecue is being cooked and served. As if the director had finally learned to behave. He said. We're just going to eat. Drink and talk tonight. It was my first time on this kind of variety show. And to be honest, apart from Julian Chase, I've never seen many artists with such a big reputation. So I followed along with the skewers and ate them without any precautions. It was spicy. Jade Rivers. I was suddenly cued. What? See the cards in your hand? Draw one. This sounded like a trick. So I drew one and saw a black heart on it. Director. What does this mean? The director showed a kind smile behind the camera. As I said earlier, we're just going to eat, drink and chat tonight. There are several patterns in this deck. Take you and Julian Chase for example. If you draw a red heart, you can say a positive thing about him that he doesn't know about. If you draw a green one, you can say a thing he's aggravated by. And if you draw a yellow one, you can randomly order one person to be truthful or dare. What about black? What about black? Julian Chase asks. The director smiled. Tell me something embarrassing about the person next to you that you've known since you met them. Something that no one else knows. Julian Chase's big teeth retracted. Yes. He is sitting next to the person who has the most black history in his 26 years of life. I didn't say anything for a while. But Fiona Fu, who was watching the scene, said, Jade Rivers. Don't be afraid. There are so many people here. Yes. Jade Rivers. Did Sequence have any fun in the past? Jason Zhao chimed in. Jason Zhao chimed in. Julian Chase looked at me with a hint of pleading in his eyes. And waved his hands together at me. The director's voice came out. Julian Chase. Please don't disturb the other guests. I wasn't afraid of him. I was just struggling with which one to say. In second grade, we used to have a neighbor who had a little German shepherd at home. And he loved it so much he yelled that he wanted to marry the person. That he could be with them forever. I can't control the corners of my mouth from rising when I talk about it. Julian Chase gritted his teeth. Jade Rivers. That memory of yours would be great for studying. We were laughing like crazy. What happened? Did the in-laws agree? No. They're a little male dog. They only like girls. In fact, Julian Chase at that age was so energetic and annoying that even dogs were afraid of him. The next person to draw a card after me was Vivian Su on the left-hand side. She drew a heart and told me that when her son was a child, he brought home a small kitten, saying it was a stray cat he had picked up from the street. But the next day the cat's mother came to the door and meowed vigorously, accusing her of stealing the child. And in the end she stayed at home. And so it goes around. Jason Zhao drew the yellow heart and asked Ethan Su how to tell the difference between him and his brother. Fiona Fu drew the red heart and said that when Rachel Chin was in high school, she was less than 56 and small. And that once when her classmate fainted from hypoglycemia in the school athletic meet, she directly hugged her classmate, who was 57, and rushed him to the infirmary, which was a girlfriend power max. As for that desk, it is Fiona Fu herself. Rachel Chin drew the green cardboard and talked about how Fiona Fu was cheated by an unscrupulous company when she first started her career. As for brothers Ethan Su and Ryan Su, they both drew yellow hearts and asked the exact same question, confessing a bad thing they've done in each other's name. Finally, it was Julian Chase's turn. And I bet I could tell by his impish grin that he'd been thinking back on my embarrassing behavior for a while. As a result, his hand jerked and a green love heart appeared. Julian Chase was really kind of silent at this point, probably really racking his brain to think about what I'd really been through in the last 20 years or so. After a long time, I heard him say, "A few years ago, Jade Rivers went to participate in the talent show program halfway out. Only said that it was for personal reasons. And then there are a lot of people on the internet to bring the rhythm. Said some nonsense words. In fact, because of her leg injury attack, the family does not allow to continue to dance at a high intensity. Went back to recuperate." The smile on my face froze. This matter was actually not a big deal at that time. But I always felt that there was no need to go into detail about the reason for her withdrawal from the competition, since she didn't have many fans at that time. Later, I don't know who started the rumor online that there were trainees who knew 3 is 3 in that variety show. And the wind was led to me by a marketing number. A headless accusation that a lot of people believed. At that time I was cyberstormed for a while. During that time the company also said to use a little heat. Do not let do to clarify so quickly. I did not listen. And directly sued several with the rhythm. Only later did I realize that the little 3 existed. But also with me a company. The senior management is to protect her abandoned me. I was robbed of a few career opportunities because I didn't listen. And when I was done recuperating from my injuries, there wasn't much notice that could fall on me. And it was also hard for the agent to occasionally take me to rub her hands against the career opportunities of other artists. But anyway, I'm over it. Who knew Julian Chase would still remember? It's kind of embarrassing. I was arguing with the executives and I said something like 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. But it's been a few years now and I'm still in the same boat. It's so embarrassing. My expression did not change much. Very mouth. I did not aggrieved. Back then, I should have sued and disliked. If it wasn't for the fact that my contract hadn't expired yet and I was feeling quite casual, I would have retired by now. Julian Chase gave a perfunctory I drew a card next to me. And drew a yellow heart. I raised an eyebrow and looked to the director. Director. Randomly order someone truth or dare all you want, right? Right. The corners of my mouth started to rise again as my eyes darted over the twin brothers. Can the older brother sing or dance to a song from the younger brother's group? Ryan Su gave a start. Then nodded haughtily at the expectant gazes. A little. Can you perform? I rubbed my hands together in anticipation. I knew I wasn't the only one who wanted to see a performance. And I was genuinely curious to see what it would be like to see people who looked the same but had different temperaments dancing. Ryan Su is so refined. He obviously has the same face. But he just doesn't make you imagine what he looks like on stage. Ethan Su clapped along. Let's see if you've learned it on the sly. I don't know if Ryan Su really knows how to do it or not. But 1 second he was standing up and walking a few steps to the open space. And the next second he was a cappella, singing his brother's first song as a member of the group. With the same standard jumping movements. And his voice was a little bit different when he was talking. But he sang as if he was singing. Wow. There were cheers and the atmosphere was just right. And Ethan Su followed suit by getting up and joining his brother for a bit. You can tell by the corner of the director's mouth how good the live numbers are right now. Ryan Su's singing and dancing skills are all there. It's a feast for the eyes and ears. And I'm watching it with my eyes lighting up again and again. This live stream hasn't even ended yet. And the little clip of the twins working together a cappella is already on the hot seat. Who wouldn't love to see watery dudes in front of their eyes? By the end of this segment, my palms were hurting from clapping. Julian Chase, who was next to me, got up and said he'd go get some cold drinks over. And I always thought he didn't look right. So I said I'd go over and help. The area where the ingredients were taken avoided the camera and I reached over and poked Julian Chase. Sequence. What's wrong with you? Julian Chase. Don't yell at me like my milk. Why are you so upset because I said something about you marrying a dog when you were a kid? He ignored me. I didn't take it personally when you told me about my talent show variety show. He said. Julian Chase looked back at me. Are you still mad at me? How many times have I told you to terminate your contract and change companies? But you just don't listen. And you've wasted your time there for years? I've never seen a handsome man in my life. Have I ever seen a handsome man? I'm generous enough to let you take a look at him. See? He even educated me. I've been looking at you for years. I'm tired of looking at handsome guys. Right? I wasn't very convinced. Besides, I still remember you playing with shit on your bare ass when you were a kid. What's so good about looking at you? Julian Chase. He was pissed. Jade Rivers. A weak voice rang out next to him. 2 teachers. You guys might know off. How can people make such a big mess? Julian Chase and I pretended that nothing happened to go back and record the rest of the process. But the heat was already scheduled. Even the words were kind of indescribably buried. Hashtag Julian Chase playing with shit hashtag. Hashtag Julian Chase's hair is a shocking revelation hashtag. Anyway. It really rubbed off on me this time. After the shoot, I looked at all the messages on my phone and thought I should go and apologize to Julian Chase. Before I could get to him, the call from my agent came first. Jade Rivers. How come you never mentioned that you knew Julian Chase? I was still upset. What's wrong with knowing him? My agent hated me. If you had told me you had the connections, how could the company give you a hard time? Today, the senior management held a meeting for you, saying that they want to give you career opportunities. And I specially picked a few good roles for you. Although they are not leading roles. But your future is about to brighten up. To be honest, my agent is really good. There are a few rising star artists under her hand. And she still cares about me who is half hidden. Sis. My contract with the company is going to expire this year. Right? I interrupted the agent's thoughts as she was drawing a grand blueprint. She gave a sharp start and seemed to understand what I meant. Whether I wanted to or not. Julian Chase had already been rubbed off on me. And after today, I would of course have the corresponding heat and commercial value. After hanging up the phone, I took advantage of the late night to try to find Julian Chase. But as soon as I left the house, I ran into Julian Chase who had just walked to the door. Where are you going at night? He asked. I said. I'm looking for you. What for? I let him in. Then put my left hand palm flat and up. And my right index and middle fingers up. Knuckles curled in a little man's kneeling position. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I couldn't really kneel for him. Wrong about what? Julian Chase asked slyly. Looking at me. I looked down and whispered. Shouldn't have said on this show that you played with shit on your bare ass when you were a kid. Julian Chase. Not this. I looked up. A little hesitantly. Isn't that humiliating enough? He was angry again. I looked at Julian Chase and asked carefully. So do you forgive me? Julian Chase seemed to sigh. He pinched his brow. Not blaming you. We're all responsible for what happened tonight. So do you want to go home first? I spoke again. It's late and it's not a good influence for you to stay in my room for long. Julian Chase left, sneering before he did. Thanks to you. I'm now spending the night in the same room as you. And people will think we're just chatting under the covers. There's another one further back on the Hot 100. Hashtag Julian Chase Jade Rivers Pure Friendship. It wasn't long after the variety show was filmed and edited overtime in post-production before it was updated. The main movie included a lot of content that wasn't on the live stream, so it still got a lot of viewers. Julian Chase's opening fart scene was also included. The director said it was like coaxing a child without the equipment on. But only Julian Chase believed it. His fans laughed their asses off. Thanks to him, I also gained a lot of fans. And some collaborations followed. Companies wanted to renew their contracts. But I turned down the new offers and just wanted to leave. There are quite a few companies that are digging me up at this moment. But my father said he intends to open a small studio for me. Just sign me one enough. However, after lying at home for 2 months, a new cooperation came to me. A director asked me to audition for the third female role in a starring drama. There's always a reason behind some unexplained good fortune. And when I looked, the lead actor was Julian Chase. I called him up and asked him about it. And Julian Chase admitted it. I recommended you. Why? The director only said he'd let you audition. The rest you earn. After the terminate contract with my ex-company, I was approached for more work. Unfortunately, although I opened a studio by mooching off parents, I wasn't able to poach my former agent. The audition passed. It's worth noting that the third woman I played on the show was the hero's own sister. That means Julian Chase and I are brother and sister on the show. After I joined the cast, there was a stage of reading the script. And one day I was craving for snacks in the neighborhood. So I went out for a stroll. Zach Young came out of nowhere and said, "Brother, you've been eating well. Brother, you've been eating well lately. And you look much better." Zach Young sighed. It's okay. Although I didn't make much money from filming you, I did make money from the other people I was filming. Is there something wrong with? I knew he wouldn't normally come to me if he wasn't doing anything. A word of warning. Be careful of your male lead in this drama. He glanced at me. The male lead, Julian Chase? I got a little excited. He's going to career downfall? Is his dad going to wait until he comes home early to take over the family business? Zach Young. No. He has a crush on you. He's got a crush on you. Because the words were so short and the content so unexpected. By the time I realized what I was hearing, I was already done. Zach Young. No bro. You said he was gay last time. Why do you have a crush on me now? I thought it was kind of funny. The paparazzi guy didn't care if I believed him or not. He said, "The way he looks at you is not normal. You can believe it or not. Otherwise, how can you say that this paparazzi guy is not interested in fame and fortune? Other people are famous for filming big stars. But he specializes in filming me. Not to mention the fact that he doesn't even care if people believe it or not. I don't believe it. And I didn't mention it to Julian Chase. I'd just focus on the movie. Being on the same crew as my brother-in-law has its advantages. As his assistant will prepare an extra fat loss meal for me. Why should I eat grass with you? Julian Chase. If you let your assistant prepare it, isn't it also eating grass? Filming is very demanding on the actor's form in order to look good on camera. I don't have much of a career. But I definitely don't want to be the one who pulls it down. One night, I went to Julian Chase's room with the female lead and the male lead to do a scene together. It was too late. So I yawned in the middle of the scene and leaned back on the sofa to rest my eyes. I couldn't control it and fell asleep. When I woke up again, I was the only one left in the suite. And the female lead and the male lead, who had just come along, had left at some point. The next second, the bathroom door opened. Julian Chase, who was covered in vapor, came out, wearing black pajamas that were not buttoned up very well. And I could clearly see a droplet of water sliding down the line of his lower jaw, then slowly disappearing into his collar. I looked at his hidden pectoral muscles and was a little tongue-tied. Can you watch out for the male morals? Julian Chase. That's not paying attention to male morality. What's with the thirst trap guys you usually read online? I thought you said they were all innocent little boys? Where are they? They've gone home. Why didn't you wake me up? I reached over and whacked him. Do you know how many scandals there have to be with male and female actors sharing a room on a set like this? Julian Chase gave me a look that made me laugh. Don't we already have one? Yes. The netizen shipping angle is really strange. After appearing on a variety show with Julian Chase, he and I really got some CP fans. I've seen a little bit of the video they cut and it's weird. Very weird. I've been filming on the set for a few months now and am quite comfortable with my acting. I'm not exaggerating. It's at least passable. Julian Chase didn't hide the fact that I was close to him. So I didn't care. He didn't avoid suspicion. So I just rubbed it in. I was a little bothered by the way my coworkers on the crew treated the two of us, though. And the female lead would sometimes watch me chatting with Julian Chase with excitement. She'd been fooled by the videos she'd cut up online to get high. I tried to clarify my relationship with Julian Chase with her. The female lead said, I've worked with Sequence before. He never prepares meals for others or has physical contact with the opposite sex outside of filming. And the way he looks at you when he's not filming. It's so gentle. Maru Spice. She is too poisoned. On the day of wrap-up filming, the lead actor received flowers prepared by the crew. In fact, I wrap up filming 2 days ago. But this moment wrap up filming me and Julian Chase is going home. He asked me to wait and go back together. So I followed along and dabbled in the wrap-up filming banquet. Julian Chase is the assistant is not in. He'd directly take me as a little brother to use. That bouquet of wrap-up filming flowers just so watery into my arms. Hold this for me. Julian Chase had a few drinks in the evening. I didn't drink. But he stopped me from drinking the one he was going to offer me. And no one said anything. His assistant arrived late. So he and I grabbed our bags from the hotel and went to catch our flight. On the way to the airport, Julian Chase sat in the back. As did I. He was probably drunk. And his head was spinning. He was probably drunk and leaned his head over my shoulder. I didn't push him away from me. I didn't push him away. I don't care. There were no outsiders. So I just leaned on him for a while. I used to get drunk. But Julian Chase didn't think I was crazy. Julian Chase had to go to the Spring Festival Gala on New Year's Day. So he had to pick a time to come back early. And he was treated well by everyone except his dad. Including my parents and my brother. Julian Chase's dad really wants to retire and regrets only having one. And thinks the second child my parents had was too prescient. My parents said they had to do 2 things. Either I'd have enough fun and come home. Or my brother wouldn't have a middle child attack and go out and pursue his dreams. Over the next year, I seriously thought about my route. To be honest, the entertainment industry is not as long as there are career opportunities can be fire. Rely on career opportunities. Small fire will not be a problem. Big fire really depends on life. There is a script handed over to me. I looked at it. It is a web drama. With my curiosity, it is more or less difficult for me to be the female lead in a TV series. Unless I really bring money into the group. Relying on Julian Chase's popularity. There were a few drama groups that invited me to audition. But later I realized that some of the ones that asked me to audition for the female lead actually beat around the bush and hoped that I could invite Julian Chase to be the male lead as well. As long as the male lead is him. The female lead can be anyone. The human condition really played out. And then I went on to do a web series. Which is bloody enough to be upsetting. And fast-paced enough. The previous show with Julian Chase's siblings wasn't on yet. And all the web series I starred in aired. It's been well received. I play the main character's young mom. Who is also the daughter and wife of the main character's real father. White Moonlight. And the setup is so upside down that it's not even close to being real. It's exciting. Julian Chase went to see it and sent me a very mixed message afterward that I'd blazed my own trail. I think that was a compliment. Right? Not long after Netflix. It was time for the show with Julian Chase's siblings to air. As the third female, I had to be along for the drama announcement. I'm no longer the 18th tier actress I used to be. But I'm still not third tier. So we'll probably be able to barely make it to the top after this drama is over. I've been seeing Julian Chase quite a bit during this time. Not only for drama announcements, but also for red carpet events. And sometimes he even comes over to deliver some of his grandmother's love food. Love to eat. But something went a little wrong. At the end of the drama, the CP fans of the main characters got into trouble with the CP fans of Julian Chase and I don't know who put a lot of CP fans on the internet. I don't know who put a lot of footage on the internet during the filming, saying conclusively that Julian Chase and I must have been talking. I clicked on the footage and watched it. And with the BGM, if I wasn't the one involved, I would have believed it. God damn. My innocence. What's the deal with the male lead rumoring with someone else during the drama's announcement? I slid nimbly to my knees on the internet and had the studio send out a statement that just meant one thing. There were no talks. At 11 p.m., Julian Chase was as sick as he could be and he retweeted my studio statement from his own number. It was a career downfall. I called him up and argued with him. What kind of a company is it that you are so big that no one can write a statement? What's the point of retweeting mine? Julian Chase. What's wrong with reposting your copy? You're so petty. Is it a question of being petty? There's already a scandal going on. Don't you know how to avoid suspicion? Julian Chase is very angry. Jiang Shaodai. You are generous. We have to avoid suspicion only when there is something going on. If not, then what? This seems to be the case. But I looked up his comment section and found his fans' genius career downfall. Brother. I know you two are close. But your retweeting of his statement gives me a bad feeling. Brother. I believe you two aren't talking anymore. But I'm a bit skeptical of you now. Laughing. Julian Chase's fans found out something worse than the main character being in love, ha 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 ha. Day's career downfall. Brother, I and others quarrel a few days, let all don't rub you. The result of your waterlingling sendor? This comment section read me in the clouds. Later in other platforms read the marketing number analysis. Only to find that the conclusion is Julian Chase unrequited love. The first time I saw her, I realized that she was in love with Julian Chase. Trash marketing number ruined my youth. Julian Chase do not know whether to see these comments. Anyway, the cold treatment is quickly gone. My career has finally taken off. And the house I'm living in now has mediocre security. So I'm planning to get a new house. After consulting Julian Chase about suitable properties, he said, my neighborhood is suitable. It happens to be recently available. With good facilities. Want to move here? I trusted him too much. Only after I moved there did I realize that the so-called vacant room was right across the street from him. It's also his. Aren't you happy with the house? He asked me. Satisfied. I looked around the house and dropped my gaze back to him. Not happy with the neighbors. Julian Chase laughed. Put up with it. The landlord said not to charge you rent. Then I'm moving out now. That's a 30% discount. Remember to pay on time every month. Julian Chase's house is very nice. But I see him a lot more often. When I'm not on the crew, I see him on my morning walks. He calls me naturally. Jiang Shaodai. I'm going on a business trip for a few days. There's a cake in the fridge. Help yourself to it. He called me. He called me. Yes. I have his door code. When I went in, besides the cake in the fridge, there was an open box on the sofa. I went over to have a look. The limited edition bag I was dying to grab. Julian Chase. Julian Chase. Why do you have a new bag? You got a girlfriend? Julian Chase. It's a gift from the brand. Do you like it? If you like it, you can have it. I joyfully carried the cake and bag back to the next door. And then realized that Julian Chase has the endorsement of this brand? And then I looked at my phone. A bunch of July 4th promotions online. It's like something bad is happening. I always feel like people can't or at least shouldn't. Thinking back on the 6 months since I moved here, Julian Chase's occasional food throws and the occasional things he threw over that he said he couldn't use. And the occasional failure to dress properly. It couldn't be hitting on me. Could it? Again. I think I'm overthinking this. So I packed up my stuff and planned to head out the door and get into the crew for a little web series. Netflix is pretty good. It's not a problem to shoot 3 a year. And I've already become a real web drama sister. I don't have much success in TV dramas. But they love my web series. It's really strange. This time the drama is even shorter. It's finished in less than 2 months. By the time I wrap up filming, it's night time. And I'm just about to open the door when the door across the street opens. Julian Chase's figure appeared. You scared me in the middle of the night. I patted my chest. Julian Chase sneered. I just wanted to see if you've broken your hand filming lately and can't return messages. That little mouth is really smeared with cranberry. Too busy to check my cell phone. Taking me for a 3-year-old? Julian Chase took 2 steps forward. Even if you're busy, it doesn't stop you from tweeting. I'm out of line. I deliberated for a moment as the door unlocked with my fingerprints. Julian Chase. I'm still looking out for you. We've been rumored for almost 2 years. And you're 28. So it's good to keep some distance. Julian Chase. Why should I keep my distance? The internet says you have a crush on me. How can you find a date if you keep this up? Julian Chase took my hand. Julian Chase took the suitcase in my hand. Pushed open the door and pushed it inside. And made a when he passed me. By the time I reacted, he was already inside. No. What did he mean by that I followed him in. Staring at Julian Chase's back as he made a beeline for me to clean up the messy couch. What do you mean? I asked him. Julian Chase turned to look at me and he seemed to sigh softly. Jade Rivers. I was wondering before if words were too clear. If we would even be friends. But you're really short in the head. You used to be completely oblivious to the fact that people liked you. I thought it was nice. Then I thought it wasn't that nice. I do like you. The kind of like that wants to hug and kiss you. He paused for a moment. Between our 2 families. I'd be willing to talk about marriage right away. I froze. One sentence blew up in my face. Julian Chase. What's the difference between us knowing each other so well and incest? I was a little tongue-tied. Julian Chase's face darkened. Don't mess with metaphors. He took 2 steps in my direction and came closer to me. His eyes fell on mine. Why don't you think about it and fall in love with me? I'm 28 years old. And I haven't seen you like anyone else over the years. So why can't you try me? I gulped nervously at the proximity. Julian Chase's face certainly packs a punch and I don't even know what I said. Try what? He kisses my face. Anything. I don't know how to deal with Julian Chase. His kisses are light and a little restrained. Just kisses to the face. But I feel my cheeks burning. We can't. I try to boot up the CPU which has gone down. Julian Chase says. How can we know unless we try? How can we? Our families are so close. What if we really talk about breaking up? Jiang Shaodai. Can we try it for a month? He said. What do you think after a month? He said. If it still doesn't work after a month, well, go back to the old days. In principle, it's still not a good idea. Julian Chase said. Just take it as a favor to me. I've liked you for a long time. But you never get the hang of it. And I can't get out of it. Whether I like him or not. Julian Chase is a very important person to me. I couldn't stand to see him go through the motions. That night I had insomnia until midnight. And when I woke up in the morning, I found that Julian Chase had made breakfast and asked me to come over for it. It made me feel crazy to think about what I'd promised him last night. He said he wanted to know if I hated kissing with him. His eyes staring straight at me. And I said it's normal for an actor to kiss. With anyone. Julian Chase said kissing someone you like is different. He kissed down. The tip of his tongue tickled me a little. My breath was plundered. And my head went blank for a moment. Julian Chase's breath completely enveloped me. Just a kiss. I don't know if there's any technique. I only felt the softness and the trembling of the tip of my heart. The moment my body softened, he scooped it up again and continued kissing. This kind of entanglement and teasing was a first for me, too. And there was even a hint of absurd backwardness in the transformation of the pure relationship Julian Chase and I had always had. My scalp tingled. For the rest of the day, kissing seemed to become routine. I was not disgusted, but still felt a twinge of confusion about our relationship. On day 15, Julian Chase and I were both out of work, and he stayed on my side of the table. But there was only one sloppy kiss all day. It was always him who initiated. I kind of wondered if he was getting tired of it. But after getting used to kissing, it was kind of addictive. My mouth itched for a kiss. But Julian Chase didn't seem to want that. At 10 p.m., he put down the tablet in his hand and said he was going back to rest. I didn't hold back. When he was going out, I reached out and dragged him back and pressed him behind the door to kiss him. I hooked his neck, tiptoed to touch his lips. A little bit of tracing the shape, and then went to search for his tongue. It's only when Julian Chase carries me back to the couch and lets me straddle his lap to continue kissing that I realize I may have been tricked. But it didn't seem to matter much. Lust is human, but it's easy to develop bad habits. By the evening of the 30th day, I was able to touch Julian Chase's pecs and abs without mental strain. And he looked so charming leaning back against the couch. But after midnight, he tugged on my hand. Jiang Shaodai. If you keep touching me, you'll be charged. So give me an answer. You're almost done with me. Don't you still like me? He has asked me knowingly. I thought about it carefully. I really didn't put up with anyone else but Julian Chase meddling in my affairs like that. I touched his face. You said you liked me for a long time. Why is it only this year? Julian Chase sighed. Because it's only this year that I feel as if you're a little bit in love with me. And you should have run away if you confessed in the first 2 years. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what? I'm happy. Julian Chase said. I really feel sorry for me. Say something nice to me. Julian Chase. You're really good looking. He laughed. It's not easy to be blind for so many years. But it's finally healed. Let's celebrate with a kiss. Julian Chase and I fell in love. The relationship progressed quickly. And the night we got together, I almost melted into his hands. Later progress was even more rocketing. He complimented me in bed for being a pretty good boy. But he didn't move very gently when he said such tender words of love. Julian Chase doesn't want to avoid suspicion. I did it on my own merit. Why would I want to avoid suspicion? Be generous. Because he was too generous. He was soon discovered by netizens. Strangely enough, some of the netizens were relieved that he was finally getting it on. I wondered, how on earth could they tell before? Julian Chase pinched my face. Yeah. Except for you. People could tell. I went out to dinner one night without a car. And we were wearing masks and hats. And we couldn't get a cab. There were too many cars on vacation. I looked around. And not surprisingly, I saw a familiar figure again. Waving. Brother. Did you drive here? Julian Chase and I got into the paparazzi guy's nanny car and exclaimed. Brother. You've gotten better. You're driving the newest cars. Zach Young. Thanks to you too. Yes. The paparazzi guy is finally making money off of me. He's also a little smug. I told you he liked you. But he didn't believe me. Julian Chase turned his head. Look. He has good eyes. You're as dumb as a mute. Don't mention me. When I got off the bus, I handed the paparazzi guy an invitation. And when he saw it, he obviously froze for a second. You're getting married? The next second he squirmed. Is this invitation just for me? Or do all the other paparazzi have them? It's just for you. So I'm letting you post this exclusive. I mentioned. And remember not to take pictures of anything you shouldn't. He happily agreed. Julian Chase held my hand as I walked back. And he said. You're pretty close to him. Jealous? No. I have a marriage license. Why would I be jealous? That's right. My husband is the most generous and handsome. Julian Chase. See? You are good at coaxing people. But you usually don't want to coax me. Yell more. I was happy. Hubby. Wife. He said back. Extra, paparazzi guy shredding. As a paparazzo, I make money by selling celebrities' privacy. But I have my own principles. And I know exactly what I can and cannot post. As for how I picked Jade Rivers out of a sea of celebrities, it was simple. She was young, pretty and a good singer and dancer at the time of the talent show. She didn't have any attitude. I was short of money at the time. My wife was sick and needed money for an operation. The fastest way to get money was to win the lottery or any of the criminal laws. I even thought about getting a scandalous scoop of a big star to make a fortune. The talent show actually has offline fans. And Jade Rivers doesn't have many. But she's a fun person. And has prepared some gifts for her few fans. She recognized me and knew I was a paparazzo. But she slipped me a goodie bag and smiled and wished me a good life. Her smile was infectious. And as I wanted to buy a lottery ticket today, I took her birthday and randomized the numbers. I didn't think the ticket would bring anything. Until the draw. And all the numbers were right. It's about $5 million. More than enough to pay for my wife's surgery. What kind of koi is this? She's good for me. So I followed her for a couple of years. And even though she didn't catch on, she didn't collapse. So that's good. Although I always complained that I didn't make any money from filming her. In fact, you can see that she is very dedicated to filming. It's great. Later on, she finally made a comeback. And I was very happy. Her young man is also good. He can talk to her. Told her he likes her. But he didn't believe me. As a paparazzo who got the top wedding invitations, my life has gone to the top. Although I am not a friend of the woman's family. When I arrived at the wedding site, I didn't have much of a reaction when I saw all the decorations. At least the groom was a top-class man. So he should have money. Then I saw all the guests and the parents of the bride and groom. And realized what Jade Rivers meant when she told me not to take pictures. I've been following her for years and never found out who she is. Nasty rich guy.